Hello, Assalamualaikum, Zishan. Hi, how are you?
Walaikum assalam. I'm doing very good, Mustafa. Thank you so much. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for accepting our invite for our channel. Let's talk about you and
My pleasure.
have you. So we will start very basic. Zishan, our audience do not know you. Tell us about yourself. Start from basic, your schooling, how you jump, where your schooling was, how you jump into the IT world and data world, and wherever you have done your other things, just share your knowledge with us.
So I started my schooling in UAE. I was born in UAE in Dubai. Early childhood was spent over here. And during that time, I was exposed to multiple nations. UAE has always been very multicultural. And after that, we moved to Pakistan. We stayed in Pakistan for about 10, 12 years. I got my schooling from there and my early college education from there as well. I went to Cathedral School in Faisal Town. Some of our common friends as well from there. And I did my early college from there as well. And then I decided I wanted to pursue computer science. So this was early 2000s. Computer science and computer was a buzzword. It was coming into the industry. Everybody was realizing the potential for it. So I joined that bandwagon as well. And I went to Canada to pursue my bachelor's in computer science. I did my computer science from over there. And then I stayed over there for about 3, 4 years. Um, I was lucky enough to get into an organization which was outsourced by Microsoft. And then we were working in a division which did support and development for Xbox 360. I have no interest in gaming for some reason. I got that job, and everybody I would talk to them like, "Oh my God, that's an amazing company that you're working for." But somehow I never developed that interest in gaming. But that was a very new thing. Xbox was coming out, 360 came out. The challenges, how graphics, how gaming industry was evolving, how intense it was. So that was a very good exposure. That after that, I came to Pakistan. And then I got into LUMS to do my MBA. During my time I was in Canada, I realized that I had a real good interest in project management. PMI was coming up early in that area. PMI, PMP, and CAPM was that. So I did my CAPM. And then I started working in project management. I took on small projects inside my own organization, and I started working on those as to develop charters, develop engage teams, and then reach up to Microsoft, and then do joint collaborations. Uh, Taking that further, I realized that although I had a tech degree, but I was not very hardcore programmer and not very hardcore developer. And I had that people skills in me. So that really made a good combination of project management where I managed teams, and then I had some technical knowledge. Building on that, I came to Pakistan. I always wanted to do my higher education. I got admission into University of Waterloo, top institutes in Canada, but I didn't have enough funds to fund my master's. So I decided I'll stay in Pakistan. I joined a small organization, but I always wanted to do my MBA. And I did 6 months research, which is the best institute. How will I position myself? And that's one thing that I always thought of, that everybody that goes into higher education, you've got to ask yourself the question, why do you want to do it? Where do you want to see yourself? How will you get benefit out of it? Because obviously there are pros and cons to it. You're investing your time, your money, your youth into it. So I did 6 months of research. What is happening? What's the scope? How are things? How do I fit into it? And what I found was that MBA was a pure business degree. People from computer science did not go into MBA. Either they would pursue higher education in computer science, or they would pursue some other career. They would pick up field in computer science, for example, animations, graphics, or big data, or DB, or Oracle. And then they would deep dive into it. But this combination of business with computer science was very niche. So I took a bet on it. I went to LUMS, alhamdulillah, got admission, went through education and everything. And that niche really helped because then I positioned myself as a project manager, and everybody where I would sit, they would understand that I have an understanding of the business because I could not only look at the whole thing from just one project, I could look at the whole thing from an end customer perspective as well. That how does this fit into customers' problems and issues, and how does this specific project solves a business problem, and how is it going to generate value. So that is what I did for about 10, 11 years of my career, hardcore project management. I worked in Islamabad with some of the telcos. I did projects for them. You name any company in Islamabad, I worked for them, from armed forces to Navy to Army to FBR to banks to telecom, Mobilink, Telenor. And these projects ranged from anywhere from a wire and Oracle call center solution to big data X7 Oracle machine, or having analytics, or having Hadoop solutions deployed, Spark, and all those. So ranging from hardware to software to big data to analytics, I got that whole exposure. And one of the good things that I learned about project management was that it wasn't monotonous. And I'm that kind of person who's very impatient and is very kind of on the go kind of person who would like to get things hands on everything. So one day I'll be doing one project, other will be a different organization, different stakeholders, different technology. So that 10, 12 years gave me exposure to a lot of technologies, from web, apps, applications, custom designs, to analytics platforms, to hardware data center solutions. And I worked with HP as well during that time. So not only Pakistan, I worked on regional projects as well. So somewhere in Bhutan, new cloud deployments, full-fledged remodel of data centers, and then things like that. So this gave me a very good understanding of technology, how technology connects from hardware from one end to software to the other end. From security softwares to internal softwares to customer-facing software. During that time, I realized that the industry is taking another shift. So one of the shifts was early induction of computers into mainstream industry that I saw. Other was that digitization was coming into play. Cloud solutions were coming into play. So from hardware, hardcore focused solutions, everything was moving on to cloud, and digitization was coming up. That was a good opportunity for me and to pivot myself. And I got an opportunity into the business growth in OLX, and then I started working over there. Did a lot of business-based projects, digitization, setting up from the call center to CRM to back end to front end to digital sales. And this kept on. And then I got another opportunity in KFC in Pakistan, revamped the whole back end, front end, from web app to call center to data to analytics. And that really gave me an exposure of how directly front end technology helps. Because a person who's hungry is probably the most honest person who hasn't received an order in 30 minutes. So getting that intensity, getting that real feedback, and making sure that you get to him within 8 to 10 minutes and 15 minutes, building a technology around it, full customer centric, where not only from the time he calls the call center or he puts an order through the app, the whole journey is tracked, managed, and whole data is in there. So that was a very, very good learning experience. Alhamdulillah, that went very well. Our orders jumped 3 times from what we were doing before in KFC in Pakistan. And then I got an opportunity in Yum, in Pizza Hut. And I moved back to Dubai, where I was born. My family keeps telling me you've completed the loop where you before you came all the way back to it. And Yum's journey has been simply amazing. Yum is, for people who don't know, Yum is the biggest QSR brand in the world, quick service restaurant brand in the world. It owns Pizza Hut, KFC, Taco Bell, Habit Burger. It's a global brand, 190 countries they're present in. It's a franchisee model. And I look after the digital and tech part for Middle East and Africa. Now, what it includes is that we have franchisees, we're the franchisor. So making sure that all the franchisees are following the approved standards and trends and technology and tools. Some of the franchisees we advise on in a consultant role, and some franchisees we go and do runs. For those of you who are in Pakistan, Pizza Hut Pakistan uses the technology that I've deployed. KFC Pakistan uses the technology that I've deployed. So you'll see, and then going from Morocco to South Africa to UAE, to Qatar, to all of these nations, some of the nations that you've never heard of, Somaliland, Namibia, Ghana, Tanzania. So these are some of the technologies, some of the countries you'll find my footprints on. And Alhamdulillah, it's been a very rewarding journey. I focused on one thing, that you see from the time I started off from MBA, a pure business degree with the tech background. Then I pivoted into one or two or three industries. And during those times, there were times where you would often question yourself, how are you growing? How are you developing yourself? Are you on the straight path? Because you'll often ask yourself, you're doing a project which has nothing to do with that. I remember once I was in a company and they gave me GDPR rules. They're like, we're going to go GDPR compliant. Outside, it doesn't even matter. So, but even that helped me later on when I was working in some other company. So one of the things that I've always focused on is, the path is not straight, and you don't need a straight path. What you need persistence, you need curiosity, you need resilience, you need commitment. And that is something that has helped me. Even the times where I felt that it's very dark and gloomy, you would, pick up your backpack and you just get right on the path that this is something that you have to deliver. This is something that you have to do. So that commitment, that resilience is something that has always helped me, especially in this industry where every day something new comes up. The technology changes. Mustafa, you might remember when you were growing up and when you were in your early education, some of the technologies that were used are not even there anymore,
No one there.
fortunately.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
So
yeah,
I tell myself we're from that generation where we have seen landline phones installed at
yeah.
homes, and we've seen landline phones being taken off from homes as well.
We have
So
used floppy disk as well. People use
exactly.
floppy disk.
I remember I showed it to one of the kids one day, and some kids, and they were like, "What exactly is this? What do you do with it?" So that is something that I feel how quickly technology changes, and in that field or industry you're in, persistence is the only thing that's going to remain constant, and you need to be on top of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if I may, right, the work you are doing in Yum, right? Can you elaborate a little bit? Are you a delivery manager over there, or you are a PM, you are a program manager, or you are handling operations of IT? Can you elaborate this one a little bit?
So I am basically, you can think of me as a solution architect
Okay.
um, slash project manager. I have a team that I manage. They're distributed resources, so sitting in some South Africa, some in UAE, and I have a network of vendors. So what I do is I design end-to-end technology that how is this solution going to be integrated into this? What solution do we require? How do we require? What are some of the things that we need to make sure that are accounted for in this? How will it connect to our Yum strategy? How will this data move into Yum? And then I basically reach out to our vendor network and say, I need this. Can you develop this? Can you get this to me? How are you going to do it? And then we go ahead and deploy it. So I basically look after end to end of technology from that point of view.
So without disclosing anything of your company, we can discuss which cloud or on-prem you are working on very high level. So
Uh,
and clouds you are using, because a lot of big companies might be using multiple clouds, right? And when you have a multi-cloud, there's a challenge of multi-cloud in an organization, right? Yeah.
True, true, true. So, see, we are a global company and we have different standards. Some of them are modified as per to this region. Some of them are global we follow. We use multi-cloud, and all of the big clouds that you have heard of, we have that set up with us. For example, in this region, we'll use Microsoft-based platform. We use Google as well. In US, we are on a couple of other big names. It's for us, it's not just one technology. For us, we have to make sure that whatever is available, what we are putting into a franchisee, somehow we are able to manage it into the cloud and then work from there. So we're not committed to one. My job specifically, because you see, my job is very, alhamdulillah, very interesting. You have some of the very big franchisees. For example, in your region, you might have heard of Jardines, which is in Malaysia and Singapore. For our region, it's one of the bigger ones in Americana. They're very big franchisees which have their own set. Then we have some smaller ones which we go to Africa, which have 5 or 6 or 7 restaurants, and they cannot afford that. So we have to make sure that whatever we are bringing in from them, we have custom fit solution for them, which can which can be beneficial for them. You don't want to have, you don't want to do an overkill in that area. So we have this one part, which are bigger ones. We can use higher tech. We can use end-to-end technologies from CDP, from CRM, from loyalty. And for the other ones, we can use those, but we have to tailor-make them for smaller ones. So we use some smaller cloud-based solutions. And for these ones, we use bigger ones. So that's every market is very different.
Actually, that is one of the biggest advantage to be a solution architect.
Yeah,
So that every solution circle around data engineering, right?
true,
You build a
true,
solution based on the business requirement, and underneath, then application, then infrastructure, cyber security, all follows that end goal that what you need to achieve. And the
true,
advantage
true.
I was in 4 years, the biggest advantage, and I was heading the solution architect team by the way. So my advantage was that all vendors were coming to us and they were pitching so many solutions to us. Right? And the learning is never ending, right? Because
Very true.
nowadays, every 3 months to 6 months, new
Yeah,
technology is coming, and vendors
true.
are coming and pitching you that. Right? So I think that's a great learning that we end up learning so many things, customer end as well. So
True.
tell us, so we are already there 15 minutes. I will take your 5-10 minutes more on this one. Tell us that how is the adoption in your organization? Because last time we were in the centralized approach where we were creating big enterprise housing. Now the move towards strategic approach where people are asking for small data products, right? And people want to build a very dedicated product for them, right? And digital twin concept is also coming. So, what do you think that user behavior from that? Last time they were dependent on one IT. Now they want to build their own small IT with them and build there. Have you seen that change in your business?
Um, Unfortunately, food tech has been somewhat of a very slow in adoption of all these technologies. I feel that if you look at, for example, telcos, even banks for that reason, they're very good at adoption of these technologies. But food tech is a little slow in that. Because I feel that maybe our main core business has been feeding people, and somehow in the restaurants, we've been very successful on that. And this evolved specifically when you look at COVID came. There was a real focus on that people couldn't come in into the restaurants, and now you really need an alternative way. So somehow that has been a bit slow in our industry. And as I mentioned before, that we have some smaller ones, smaller franchisees, some bigger franchisees, and how to tailor to that. That has not been very, your question has not been very applicable in this specific area.
Okay.
Um, Everybody does require, but what we have started doing on our end is that we have built one core area where now we are extending our own products to them to help them. For example, one of the franchisees we're dealing with, they're comfortable with Dynamics. Instead of getting a solution which they have, which is CapEx heavy, we have started now tailoring it for OpEx. Same Dynamics, but for an OpEx fully cloud-based solution. So these are some of the small things that we are bringing in that's to make sure that somehow we're able to size the technology into the smaller boxes and then hand it out. And that has definitely been a challenge. That how do you maintain data quality, how do you maintain data sanity, and how do you bring it up? But that is definitely something we are working on, because if you look at Africa, you don't have very good resource quality as well. In UAE, you get very good resource quality. So, and the data that comes in UAE is a lot more structured in comparison to data that's coming from South Africa. So we are trying to work on that, but that's definitely a struggle for us, and our adoption has been a little slow in that area.
Okay, that's good. So tell us, tell me. So let's go a little bit back, right? The education sector. I also want to put some light on that education sector in Pakistan. I think on this point, that our conversation as well. Tell, tell us about education sector in Pakistan, because I know that there are, correct me if I'm wrong, there are 4 or 5 universities which are doing very good, which is nurse, and alums as well, right? How do you see resources coming out of our education sector?
Our education sector, unfortunately, has been neglected in every way. I understand there are some good 4 or 5 universities, but you look at the the population bomb that we have. That's not enough to cater for that. Unfortunately, me and you, fortunately, we come from a background where me and you, we can afford to go to that. We went into certain types of schools, we went into certain types of educational institutes, we made certain friends, and then we went to certain universities. And that's what you'll find people around you and me. But we just represent maybe 5% or 10% of that population. But you look at 70 to 80% of the population, about 40% of them live below poverty line. And then the youth that's coming up, about 60 to 70% of the youth is below the age of 30. These institutes are not enough to cater for that full potential of our organization and full potential of our country. Um, I believe that education sector needs a lot of work on wall putting. All of the unrest that you see, all of the issues and challenges that you see it's coming up is because these youth, they don't have opportunities. They don't have that exposure, unfortunately. So we were lucky enough that we got into certain type of schools and universities and we got out and then we went into certain type of jobs. But this sector, unfortunately, they don't get out of that circle of poverty. You see, if you ask them what your father used to do, like my father used to have, used to work in a fruit mandi, for example. My forefather used to work in construction. My forefather used to, had a donkey farm or something like that. Um, and that is something that we just don't need these good 4 or 5 universities. We need at least 30 or 40 good universities to cater for that. Um, and you also have to see it's not just universities. You might remember when me and you we were growing up, there were polytechnical institutes as well. Exactly, and then that is something that we also need to provide those associate engineers, those BTechs, those people who can work into specific industry because people who are going to come out of this university, they're not going to be certified, for example, machine mechanics, certified electricians, certified plumbers, certified woodwork. We don't have that force, unfortunately. One of the challenges I remember, I was talking to somebody who worked in a big industrial complex with one of the agencies, and they said that we don't have those associate engineers. We don't have those people who can actually do physical work, those certified people, certified technicians, certified electricians. So it's not just you can say as at a higher level, university level, but below university level as well. Those institutes are mostly gone. Even when you go to Pakistan, you don't see that. So that's a big, big, big issue as a nation. We are close to now 300 million people mostly that we're reaching in next year or two. By the way, the trend that I've seen in last 3 or 4 years from 20 million to. So what are we going to do with that? And out of that, how many people go to these universities? LAMS produces around 400 to 500 graduates every year. So if there are, for example, 5 or 10 universities, 30,000, 40,000 people. That's
But
it.
my question here is, Zishan, right? Because we are both in broad, right? So wherever I go, I do see a lot of good Pakistani folks doing a lot of good things.
Yeah.
I feel they are dispersed here and there. They are not connecting. Maybe our this channel can play a good part into it. We need to bring them together, and then we need to maybe start creating offshore centers in Pakistan, create some IT parks over there, bring people over there, create a dedicated channel from here. Yes, financial sector across the globe might not support offshore, but I think food industry, many other industries do, right? Oil and gas do have offshore centers. Right? I think if our private sector can end up going towards that direction, uh, connecting with the education sector as well. And there are a lot of incubation centers nowadays in Pakistan, and they are doing a lot of things. I'm in contact with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And our friend Kazmi also mentioned that he's ready to do that. I think let's do that as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I 100% agree with you that there are two aspects to it. One of them is the industry linkages from academia to your industry professionals and industry trends and everything, so that your education, your curriculum remains up to mark with it. That's a gap naturally. But the other one that you see is that we as a nation, we as Pakistanis, we're not well connected and we're not well bonded as to we don't have center of excellence. We don't have alumnus gatherings. We don't have specific tech sector gatherings where we connect, we network, and we promote each other. The talent that we have out of Pakistan is absolutely phenomenal. There is no question mark on it. I worked across US. I worked with some of the Canadian firms, with US, with the European talent, Africa, Middle East, North Asia, South Asia, and I've seen that our people are very talented. And one of the things that they lack on is that they're not that well connected to their alumnus. They're not that well connected to their nation, to their country, to their industries, to connect to other Pakistanis. And that is definitely an area of opportunity where we need to sit down and we need to figure out that how are we going to move forward? How are we going to make sure that Pakistan as a tech brand comes up? Because I'm one Pakistani, you're one Pakistani, but we're not doing anything to promote Pakistan as a brand for tech hub. So definitely that needs to start from incubation centers. That needs to start from industry linkages where your industry professionals are not only just coming up for speeches. I remember Umar also said something that, we had guest speakers, and that is definitely an impact. We had a lot of guest speakers during our MBA as well. But the thing is that these guest speakers just come in for about an hour or so and then they leave. Some people get impacted, some not. But how are we involving industry to shape our academia? How are we involving our industry to see what are the trends that are coming up and how are we shaping our curriculum for the younger generation? I remember when I came out, you as well, data warehousing was nowhere to be found. Academia had nothing to do with it. So we had to develop ourselves over there. But imagine that if we already had a taste of it and then we came in, naturally, our progression or our understanding would have been at a different level. So that is also not happening.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that is where private sector need to come into it, into the play, and connect three bodies: private sector and incubation centers and people like you and me sitting outside. If this triangle can be made somewhere by someone, I think again our this channel is one step toward that direction, because I'm connecting with some incubation centers in Pakistan. Because
I would love to be engaged in any of the opportunities that you have to mentor startups, to help anybody. I think we as a nation, we owe that to people of our country, that we need to not only promote them, because you think about it, one person who comes out, he has a family that he can support, and then he also has some friends who he can bring out, and then they can also get exposure. So it's very important to do that.
thank you, Rishan. It was lovely talking to you. Thanks for your time. I think we will get in connected again and let's work on this one. Do refer other Pakistani folks who are working in your circle. Would love to take their interviews as well. And let's do and let's take back something.
Definitely, definitely. I'd like to close off our conversation. Thank you very much, Mustafa. It's been absolutely wonderful. And I want to close off with a message to the youth, people who are seeing this, people who are aspiring, people who want to do something. One of the things that I've seen in the youth is that they're very anxious. There's no shortcut to this. The journey that you have had, the journey that I've had, we started from very basic. I remember the first job that I got after bachelor's was hardly 20, 30,000 rupees. And this is after coming,
3,000.
and this is I'm saying when I came back from Canada. So my first job was 3,000 rupees in Pakistan, but there's no shortcut to it. So you don't need to have it all figured out. You cannot have it all figured out from the day one. But what
Ah,
it
yeah.
start small, have a good vision, understand where you want to be, and if you get a chance, pivot in that direction. But stay consistent, keep upgrading yourself, be hungry, be on the lookout for new technologies, and don't think of it as day one, day two, day three. Think of it as, 6 months, a year down the road, where do you see yourself? And
Okay.
once you have vision, long-term vision, you will be able to define that journey and look at what kind of impact you can create. One of the things that has really helped me in this role and my previous role in KFC as well, that how am I making difference in people's lives? The technology that I'm developing, because it's customer facing, what kind of value I can generate, that if I can save 1 minute, one click, one touch for it. So think of how that will impact people's life. And stay hungry, stay consistent, keep pushing yourself. And that's the only way that you'll be able to move forward.
But not the least, expose yourself to
True.
social media like LinkedIn,
Of course, of course.
portals over there. Expose yourself over there. That the people come and create your profile. I can tell you that I see a lot of people who do not even know what is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the only one portal for IT folks right now. There are a few other
Exactly. Exactly.
social media that is LinkedIn. Right? So I keep telling people that expose yourself, get into
Thank
the
you.
market. You will fail, you will fall, but
Absolutely.
you will.
That if I will, I've never hired somebody who has come to me and said, "Oh, I just aced everything," because I don't want that person. That means you have not learned.
You have not.
I want to hear you have failed. I want to hear how you picked yourself up. And that has happened with me many times. There have been
All
organizations
of
I've
us
been late
gone through that path. Yes,
and
yes.
and I've had projects which have failed. So, I mean, but that's the learning process. And that's something that really shapes you very well. Thank you so much, Mustafa. This has been truly amazing. What a wonderful conversation. I wish you luck in the journey you are. And if I can be part of it in any shape or way, please feel free. And let's keep in touch. Feel free to invite me to your wonderful channel anytime. I love to talk.
Yeah, pleasure. Thank you, Dishan. Have a nice day. Thanks for giving us time. Take care.